Dear colleagues, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. On behalf of the organizing committee, welcome to the FIB Lisbon Symposium 2021. In the days preceding FIB Symposia, meetings of the FIB commissions usually take place. Typically, the organizing committee prepares a technical visit to a work of interest in the vicinity of the event. This year, due to the pandemic, the FIB Lisbon Symposium 2021 will be hosted fully online. However, we didn't want to drop the usual technical visit. With this aim, we asked Professor Júlio Apton to prepare a special keynote lecture on the more than 20 years of experience in monitoring and maintenance of the Vasco da Gama Bridge here in Lisbon. Since there is no limitation of seats, and taking into account the interest of this subject, we understood that it made sense to extend attendance to all participants in the symposium through the symposium web app and to the public in general through the YouTube channel of FIB. For those watching via web app, let me draw your attention to the fact that you can use the Ask Question button to post questions, as well as to vote on questions posted by other attendees. After the presentation, my colleague Luís Oliveira Santos and I will ask Júlio Apton the most voted questions. Now let me introduce the keynote speaker. Júlio Apton graduated at Instituto Superior Técnico, IST, in 1971. Then he went to London, where he obtained his master's degree in 1976 and his PhD degree in 1979, both at the Imperial College. He was full professor at IST from 1985 until 2011, when he retired. He created a dynamic research group in structural concrete and taught course units of pre-stressed concrete, building structures, and structural rehabilitation. In parallel to his academic career, he developed a professional activity at A2P, a design office he co-founded in 1990. In this scope, he coordinated the design of new buildings and bridges, as well as the rehabilitation of buildings, jetties, dockyards, silos, and bridges. He has been an active member of CEB and FIP, and later of FIB. He has been president of GPPE, the Portuguese group of FIP, and later of GPBE, the Portuguese group of FIB. In 2006, he was awarded the FIB Medal of Merit. Let's now watch Júlio Apton presentation.
Okay. Share screen. Good afternoon. It's a great pleasure to me to present the monitoring and maintenance works that have been performed since 1998 in the Vasco da Gama Bridge. Between the abutments, Vasco da Gama Bridge has 12 kilometers and 340 meters, 5 types of different structures, starting in the right bank, the North Viaduct with 488 meters, typical spans of 45 meters. The deck was constructed with a traditional scaffolding supported on the ground. Then the Expo Viaduct was constructed, the deck with a cantilever system of construction with precast segments. It has a total length of 672 meters and typical spans of 61 meters. Then the main bridge with a total length of 830 meters and the central span with 420 meters. The deck is a full suspension system. It means that there is no vertical support of the deck in the tower. The stays are fixed in 2 lateral pre-stressed concrete beams. The beams are connected by steel transverse beams. Although there is not a vertical connection between the deck and the tower, but there is a control of horizontal deformations between the deck and the tower with an elastoplastic unit, which also includes the dampers, as you see here in this photo. The lateral piers have anti-lifting devices that have to cope with the seismic displacement of 1.9 meter. That is done with these pre-stressing cables that connect the top of the deck to the bottom of the piers. Then the central viaduct is the longest structure in the Vasco da Gama Bridge with 6,530 meters, typical spans of 78 meters, and the navigation spans with 130 meters. These navigation spans were done also with the cantilever type of construction with precast segment. The current spans have been done with full precasting and transportation of the total box girder by the Rambis crane. Then finally, the South Viaduct has a 3,800 meters with typical spans of 45 meters. The deck was constructed by a launching girder. This project was a design, construction and operation project. It had a very good initial specification, and I refer here the service life that was specified with 120 years, and the correspondent cover that was used in the several structures. For the marine structures, 7 centimeters. The concrete strengths, you have here the minimum values and the concrete quality specified. Finishing the construction, load tests, static and dynamic load tests were performed. In this slide, you can see the vertical frequency of vibration of the various structures. The dynamic tests were done using the environment vibration, or also using a vehicle over a wood plank, and for the main bridge, force vibration test with 60-ton mass fixed with pre-stressing cables that were cutted. You can see also in this slide the measurement of the frequencies in the stays that enable to evaluate the forces in the stays and compare them with the design values. Starting in March 98, we had the monitoring plan. In the structure, a lot of sensors to measure deformations, rotations, joint movement, temperatures, and also the topographic monitoring has been used. The main objectives of this monitoring plan is to assess the behavior of the structure in service condition, and if there is an extreme event, also to have enough information to assess the eventual damage in the structure. A very important document for the maintenance works and inspection is this manual, where for all the structures and for all the elements, we have a description of the element, what should be inspected, with what regularity, and what can be the envisaged preventive and corrective maintenance. I show here these technical sheets for the bearings of the Expo Viaduct. Now I selected some monitoring and maintenance works in the 3 structures: the South Viaduct, the Central Viaduct, and the main bridge. You can see here the registration of the sensors inside the concrete to evaluate the temperature variations along the days and along the year. Here you have during 2018 the average daily temperature and maximum and minimum temperature, an amplitude of 27 degrees maximum in 2018. The expansion joints are also monetary. For this structure, the distance between the joints is 360 meters. The expansion joint is the variation, the sum of the variation of the two adjacent structures. In this case, one of the structure has fixed bearings, but the pier can move due to creep, shrinkage, and temperature. And on the other side, the bearings are sliding bearings, so the deck can move. We can see that in 2018, there was an amplitude of movement of the joint of 10 centimeters. And we can assess along the years what was the effect of creep and shrinkage. And we arrived to 11.8 centimeters, which corresponds to an equivalent temperature variation of 37 degrees. To assess durability, we select in the beginning 25 regions where we measure the cover, we assess the chloride penetration, and also other tests to have been done to assess the eventual corrosion of reinforcement, and we extract some cores as well. You see here a slide with the results of the geophysic radar. All the piers and piles have been determined the cover. Unfortunately, in some cases, we realize that the reinforcement has moved horizontally, and in some areas, the cover is not the 7 centimeter that was specified. So, in what concerns chlorides, when there is no concrete effects, the chlorides have reduced the penetration. So after this 22 years, it arrived only to 3 centimeters deep. With these results, the diffusion coefficient and its variation could be assessed, and a deterministic prediction of the chloride penetration was done by the laboratory LERM, and the conclusion is that for the under 20 years, it is not expected to have depassivation of reinforcement to chloride at 7 centimeter deep. But since the cover is not a deterministic and fixed value, as this large variation, and also the chloride penetration is not a deterministic value, we have performed a probabilistic model using the model of FIB Bulletin 34, and we arrived to the conclusion that for the under 20 years we get high probability of depassivation in the reinforcement. So this explain why since 2004 several maintenance and repairing and preventive maintenance have been executed in the South Viaduct. The first activity was to introduce in some alignments the advanced pile encapsulation system. It consists of a casing, a glass fiber casing, and the injection of an epoxy grout. And on that year, we had also the opportunity to participate in a research project, and we introduced in one pier a preventive cathodic system with the titanium anodes. Then in the piers where the cover didn't reach the 7 centimeters, we introduced a protective surface painting with epoxy in the tidal zone and acrylic painting in the top of the piers. We have done some local repairing, and later on we verified in the inspections that in the piers in the piles that have been executed with a temporary earthfill, that in the top of the pile and the starting of the pier, there was some concreting defects, as you can see here, that were not corrected during construction. And so in 2016, repairing and was introduced, replacing the cover concrete and also do a confinement with the carbon fiber afterwards. You see here the schematic of the two phases of this activity. To do this work properly and with the correct quality, we have to do it on dry conditions. So cofferdams were installed in these alignments. Here we present the composition of the micro concrete that was used in this repairing. Very good concrete. Also the shrinkage was controlled to low values using some shrinkage reduction. And when we start doing the repairing, cutting the concrete, in some local areas we could find some corrosion in the stirrups and also corrosion, very reduced corrosion in the main bars in places where welding was done between the stirrups and these bars. Here I show the concreting, the transport of concrete to the pier and the repairing, the confinement with the carbon fiber reinforced plastic, and the final epoxy paint in this tidal area. In the south viaduct, near the right, the left bank, some piers are located in salt tanks. You see here, after dewatering, the amount of salt it was near the pier. We also checked in the inspection that the joints were not always well treated. And in fact, when we decided to do the repairing on those joints that present some anomalies, we found the beginning of the corrosion. So the concrete was removed, as explained before, in a height of 55 centimeters. So since '98, we had already maintenance, preventive maintenance and repairing in the 179 piers from the 336 piers, so more than 50%. Now I move to the central viaduct, the longest structure in the Vasco da Gama bridge. Here I show similar registration of the temperature in concrete in the deck. Here the expansion joint movements. Here the joints are distance 700 meters, and we can also evaluate not only the temperature variation along here, but also the creep and shrinkage effect. Much lower than in South Viaduct, because the precast system that was used in this structure led to the situation where one great part of these time effects have take place before monitoring. I show here the displacements at mid-span in one of these substructures of this central viaduct. Reduced values, the maximum value in the second span. The lateral span has an upwards deflection due to the pre-stressing system. In the navigation span with 130 meter, we have 33 millimeter permanent deformation. For durability, in this structure, we choose 26 regions where we have performed the same tests as explained before for the South Viaduct. In this central viaduct, also the piles in this structure, the piles were steel driven piles, and so it was decided to monitor the loss of section of the steel casing. So after 16 years, we arrived to the conclusion that only 1 millimeter, that we have only 1 millimeter loss, and the expectation of 6 to 9 millimeter loss in under 20 years. The piles have 22, 28 millimeter thickness. It is to be remembered that in the top of the pile, where these measurements are done in 15 meters, there is a reinforced concrete pile. So even if the steel pipe has loss of section, the safety is guaranteed by the concrete pile. In this central viaduct, the foundations were concreted inside a false work, a concrete precast false work, and we could check in the inspections that there was the joint as a slight opening. Only in one foundation we had 12 centimeter opening, because in general it is 1 millimeter, and all the joints have been sealed. In this case, for this block, the gap was filled, and pre-stressed bars with inox steel were applied to guarantee the connection between the precast element and the inside block. Also in these precast elements, although they are not a structure, it has been applied a preventive maintenance with an epoxy painting and repairing when it is required. And nowadays the bearings are the objective of maintenance of the steel parts, painting the steel parts that present initiation of some rust, and the shock absorbers are repaired and replaced in some cases. So in this structure, now we have done some type of intervention in 65 of the 84 foundation blocks. The piers and the deck don't show any special problem. So I move now to the main bridge, to the cable stayed bridge, and after 3 years of service, it was planned to do the retention of the stays, and that was done. On that time, we could see that the deck had a downwards deflection of 10 centimeter. Then the retention planned by the designer led to an upward deflection of 43 centimeter. After 2001 to 2020, we saw a permanent downwards deflection only of 5 centimeters. So it is not expected to do any more retention in the stays. You can see here the effect of retention in the force in the stays, 500, 600, 700 kilonewtons increase in the force of the stays. Here you can see also the strain stress monitor of stresses in the deck, in the top fiber and in the bottom fiber. And in this slide, we see the result of the topographic measurements for the deflections in the deck of the main bridge. You can see that now we have a almost 25 centimeter upwards deflection in the central span. On the right, you see the hypsometric representation of these deformations in the deck. For the longitudinal displacements, we could check a shortening of the deck of 174 millimeters from the start of monitoring. And the temperature is also several sensors in the deck, in the towers, in the stays, quite different amplitudes in the deck, similar to the other structures. In the towers, only 16 centimeters, but in the stays, quite a large temperature gradient of 42 centimeters in 2017. Also, the joints are monitored. In this case, the joint between the main bridge and the expo viaduct. We had a permanent opening of the joint of 20 centimeter after monitoring. 12 centimeter come from the shortening of the part of the main bridge, and 8 centimeter from the Expo viaduct. For durability, we choose 7 regions. We verified along these years that there are almost no anomalies at all in the main bridge. The stays have been also inspected in 2019. The anchorage have been open to see that if the grease was still in good position, the grease that protects the cable, the strands of the cables, as you see here. That this was done in the anchorage, in the deck, and in the towers. In these last years, also the bearings and the impact unit have been maintained, painted the steel structure, also cleaned and protected the dampers and the plastic unit. Also, the bearings have been also painted when some initiation of rust can be seen here. And so we could conclude saying that this project was not only a success as a design and the construction and the project globally, but also what is being done for inspection and maintenance. It has been the correct what shall be done, and we are very proud of this work that is being done in the bridge, and the bridge is here to continue to do its role in this metropolitan area of Lisbon. The traffic has increased significantly in the first years, then it is maintained, and in the last years with the pandemic has reduced again. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'd like to thank Professor Júlio Upton for this very interesting presentation. If this was on-site presentation, now it would be time for the audience to pose questions. Since this is an online presentation, an online event, people should have put the questions during the presentation. I was checking here the link with the questions. There was no questions, so I hope that during the FIB Symposium people get used to this new way of putting questions. I was also checking the YouTube because we are streaming live to YouTube. There was a technical problem, so it didn't start at the same time, and I apologize for those who are watching at YouTube. So we are going to upload the full video. Since there were no questions, perhaps I would ask Professor Júlio Upton one question. I believe this is the largest bridge in Portugal, and it was also a novelty. The service life, it was defined for 120 years. I'd like to know if, in your opinion, what are the advantages of defining this larger service life, and what were the problems, and if, in your opinion, this was an adequate decision or not?
Yeah, good afternoon. It's a pleasure. It's a pity that I cannot see all the colleagues of FIB and yourselves, but for me it's a pleasure to be here and in a FIB event. I think that the technical specifications for the competition, design, construction and operation competition is quite a difficult subject, and the technical specifications for the competition are very important. and the specification of the 120 years, I think it was the first time that was done in a competition in Portugal. I think it was very important because the environment here, it is quite severe because we are in the estuary of the Tagus, and so the chlorides are a problem for steel elements and for concrete. So the design and the studies of concrete, I think about 100 compositions of concrete were studied just before the construction. So the concrete that was used in the several structures proved to have the adequate quality. If that specification was not put in the specifications, that would be difficult to achieve this goal. The problem that arrived in this construction was that the surveillance was not perhaps so good as the design and the specification. And so there was some problems mainly in the concrete cover because people think that if the spacers have the value of the cover, everything is correct, but our experience shows that afterwards, in many situations, the cover is not achieved because the spacers are broken, the spacers move, and that was the big problem in this structure. So we have in some areas a concrete cover lower than the 70 millimeters that was specified. And what we can say is that nowadays all the structures that are in the marine environment have had its cover measured. And for the South Viaduct is several thousands of measurements that were done. And the same for the Central Viaduct and the main bridge. And so only with this inspection, because to prevent the deterioration, if we don't see any damage, but measuring the cover, and if we know that the cover is lower than the 7 centimeter, then we can introduce preventive maintenance, and that this is what has been done. And so a lot of money is spent to compensate this error in construction. But if this preventive maintenance is done, then the service life of the structure can be achieved. We will not be here in 120 years. We have passed 20 years. And what I can say is the concessionaire Lusoponte has accepted all the suggestions that we do. So we work as a consultant to Lusoponte. There is a French laboratory that does the inspection and the tests. We analyze the results of the tests, and for each year and for the concessional period altogether, we have already proposed a series of interventions, and every year we plan what is going to be done next year. And the administration of Lusoponte has always accepted what was proposed. So it is not necessary that the government imposes to do this or that, because there is that assumption that we have to do what is needed. And so for me, it's a pleasure. I worked in this project since the design, because I was part of the consortium for the design verification. And since 1998, I'm involved in the bridge in this consultancy, and also doing now the surveillance of the repairing works and the preventive maintenance. So we do a permanent surveillance of and the quality control of those works in the bridge.
Okay, thank you very much. Meanwhile, we already have a set of questions, so I asked my colleague and friend Luis to ask Professor Appleton some of these questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Eduardo. I'm Luis Oliveira Santos, and I would like to start by congratulate Professor Julio Oppelman by his very interesting presentation. Now you have already some questions, and I start by this one. Start by thank you very much, Julio. Excellent presentation. Congratulations. I would like to know if any retro-analysis has been done to see the capacity of our theoretical models to represent reality.
The theoretical for the structure response. So when the structure was finished, the designers were asked to establish the what is expected for the monitoring. So they have done, after knowing the concrete quality, they have done, and also the elastic deformation of concrete and so on. So they have done the prediction of the behavior of the structure in service conditions. They have done the design. Then during construction, they have supported any doubts that occurred. And when the construction finished, they have done two things. They have done the prediction of the structure for the tests, for the static and dynamic tests, to compare with the results that were obtained before the bridge was open to service. And they have done the prediction of the structure to establish what would be the values that have to be controlled during inspection. For the main bridge, so it was planned after 2 years to do the retention of the stays. That was done after 3 years. And every year, so the designers continue to be involved in the bridge, because all the structure monitoring goes directly to the designers, and the designers do the appraisal of the results. And if there is any result that is not expected, they have to explain it. For example, for the central viaduct, the designer has established very low values for the vertical displacements of the deck. But the displacements are quite small, but they are higher than the alert values that he established. So now he's revised those values. So the bridge, in what concerns the structure response and the structure behavior, is controlled by the designers. Then, in general, Luz Ponte gave to us, to A2P, all these reports that we analyze, and we also do comments to it. And there is another part that is the durability studies. For the durability, the same laboratory that has supported the concrete composition, that is LERM, that is a French laboratory that has its headquarters in Arles, it continues to do the durability tests and the durability reports. In the first years, every year, now 3 and 3 after 3 years. So we established with LERM what are the tests to be done. We have done a detailed location and specification of the tests. So they do every 3 years. They produce a report. So the number of reports in this bridge is enormous. Very interesting works for the design and now for the maintenance. And so these reports afterwards are analyzed by A2P, by the concessionary, and when required, we decide preventive or repairing local repairing works. I don't know if I answered to the question of
Okay, thank you very much. There is now a question here with several votes, but I will leave it to Luis to ask you. I would choose this one that is about, again, of the 120 years of service life. if it only affects the concrete cover as referred to or something else. I believe that the seismic action is influenced, of course, by that. This is one of the questions. So what does the service life affect in terms of design?
The service life, because the cover not always, it is basically in the top of the piles and in the precast caisson of central viaduct that we have this problem of lower covers than specified. Now, what is with the preventive maintenance, we correct that negative aspect.
Sorry for interrupting. I believe the question was about the definition of 120 years as service life. What does it influence in the design? Not only the cover, but many other things. So
yes, it has the influence also in the earthquake action. So in the design, the technical specification at the time the Eurocodes were not yet approved, but the Eurocodes were used to support those technical specifications for the competition. So for live loads, the live loads of the Eurocode 1 were considered. For earthquake, also the earthquake has had a much higher peak ground acceleration than in our national code at the time. So it was basically in the actions and in durability that the 120 years have been explicitly considered for the design basis.
Okay, thank you. We have another interesting question. It starts by thank for this nice presentation. And the question is, do you know how common is the adoption of this type of proactive maintenance protocol in other bridges by other owners?
But in Portugal or so here
you can answer both for in Portugal and in the world, of course.
I think that in this project it was in the competition, so there was a significant amount of money that was prescribed and considered for maintenance. So what Lusoponte is doing, the concessionary, is respecting and considering the value that themselves they have considered for maintenance works in the bridge. And the maintenance, we didn't refer, but there are a lot of other things that are being done in the bridge, in all the electrical systems of control of traffic and so on. So all the personnel, so all there is a building, a control building that receives automatically all the information of the meteorologic stations, all the information of the expansion joint, and control also traffic. And so all this was considered as costs when doing this competition. So the concessionary has the resources to do what is being done. So in this project, this is about 30 years concession. So in Portugal, there are not other situations, I think, of a project that has the design, the construction, and the operation is as such an organization. So for the motorways, there is also these projects that are now in concessionaires of the motorways. They are also obliged to do this maintenance system. And I work as a consultant also for other concessionaires in Portugal, where we also do maintenance works. I don't know what are the resources that they are allocated in the contract. I don't know. But what I can say is, for me, Lusoponte is a good example of what should be done everywhere. And I think in Portugal it is perhaps the best example of the resources and attitude of the administration on this project. I think it's everybody agrees that you buy a car and you, from the first year, you have to look at maintenance, and for bridges and buildings and other constructions, not always have the same idea that you have started. You have from the beginning you have started doing inspection and doing maintenance, and so it's what I think about it.
Thank you very much. I'm also checking the YouTube channel. So people that are watching from YouTube, please comment, put in comment the questions you want me to ask Júlio Appleton. I have already said that we start streaming not in the beginning due to a technical problem, but FIB will upload the full video as soon as possible. Now we have here a provocative question. The question is, what would happen if tomorrow we have an earthquake like the 1755 Great Lisbon earthquake, followed by a tsunami? Would the bridge resist that, or what is your opinion?
Yeah. Yes, I think so. So the earthquake action in this bridge was 3.5 times the earthquake action that we have in our present code. Okay, this is quite an extreme event. There are 18, I think 18 accelerometers that are installed in the bridge also. And the conception of the various structures, I think it was very good, also very good and necessary because of this earthquake high action. So in the structures that are in the river, very complex studies were done. I remember the works of Alain Pequer about the bridge and the interaction between the soil and the piles. So this gave a lot of discussions. I remember that when I was checking the design, we have to produce calculations with the results, not knowing the results of the designer. And the first results I obtained in the South Viaduct, when I compared that has piles with 50, 60 meters and very sandy and mud soil conditions, when I compared with the Armando Rito results, sometimes we have 50 the differences between the results that you have in the design. So, and when we have such complex soil conditions, the earthquake analysis is quite difficult. But then iterative and discussions have been done in all the designs, in the bridge, in the main bridge, in the Central Viaduct, in South Viaduct, with the checker and the designer. So I think what could be done at that time was the best that could be done for design. Okay, in several structures we have some dissipative structures. So how these are going to work? In some countries we have a good experience, but we don't know exactly. But those structures, those dampers, for example, in the North Viaduct, there are dampers, so are checked and are maintained. Now in the Central Viaduct is a very costly activity that the dampers have a system that have lost part of the pressure that they have in these shock absorbers, and they are now being maintained and some are replaced because these systems, I think there is not yet enough information of the behavior of the structures with all these dissipative devices. the structure also has high ductility. So if we would look at the piles of the stirrups in the piles and in the piers, we would see that not only in some cases some dissipative devices were used, but also high ductility for the structure elements. So I hope as the cable, the suspension bridge, I hope that also Vasco da Gama Bridge will have a good behavior for an extreme earthquake as that one that occurred in the 18th century.
Okay, thank you. We have more questions. And the next one is regarding the temperature monitoring. I would like to ask if sensors for temperature monitoring were cased in or additionally placed and drilled holes with mortar. So they are put.
They are cased in. They are put inside the concrete. They are put inside the concrete
during construction.
During construction, and, and then some connections are left to do the monitor. So there is a system of data logger. So I was not involved in that part of the structure monitoring, but I have all the documents, and but I have not all the details. But they have been installed during construction. Also, a lot of strain gauges of tension iron strain gauges that were installed in concrete to measure deformations. Those are the ones that the results are more difficult to understand. So temperature and topographic measurements, displacement in joints, and so on, very clear. When we go to strain gauges, then the interpretation of the results is quite difficult. And so I see the reports afterwards of the designers discussing those results, and I think that there are too many. I refer to you to more than 300 elements that are installed in the structures. There are some, about 20%, that do not work anymore due to electrical problems. But the other ones also, I have difficulties in discussing the results, because you know very well, Luis Santos, that you work on that area, that it depends very much on the location, and the deformations is something that even with a gauge length adequate to concrete structures, they are not very easy to the coherence of the various results. So the designers have had some difficulties in analyzing those aspects. But the main response of the structure with the displacements, vertical displacement in joints, I think those are very important, and the temperature and the possibility to evaluate the grip and shrinkage effects, those I think are the main aspects. And what we can say is, up to now, there is not any structure anomaly in the structure. So what we had is small corrosions in the steel elements that require the new painting because the environment is aggressive, and that problem of some concreting defects and some covers that were not achieved and were lower than the specified. Those are the problems, but the problems that are tackled and are compensated with this maintenance.
Well, we have one last question. It is the following: would the bridge be designed differently today? So would there be more control during construction? What would you do differently today in order to avoid this kind of maintenance and retrofitting works in 2050?
Now, for the design, I think the design is nowadays would be adequate. I believe for the cable-stayed bridge, the idea of total suspension is the adequate conceptual idea for the bridge. I already had some experience in cable-stayed bridges that have not that concept. And I think the control of geometry during construction and in service is the adequate solution. So I think the conceptual design of the bridge for the central viaduct to precast, because this project was done, the design and construction in 3 years and a half, so after the competition. So it is quite a good performance. And so I think the design was very good and continues to be a good design for 2020. Now, what I think has failed was the quality control of execution in some structures, not in all the structures. It was mainly in the piles of the South Viaduct, in the area where the earth field, because the piles were executed in two different systems. The piles that were in the river and where a boat could transport the pile equipment, they were done like that. And then near the banks, it was an earth field was provisional earth field were done, and that where the problems arrived. So the correction of the top of the pile, that is a common activity in all structures that have piles, was not done properly. Also, unfortunately, in the precast cofferdam of the central viaduct, although it was precast and done in a precast yard, in the connection of the faces, sometimes the cover is lower than 7 centimeters, and if it is 2-3 centimeters, in 20 years, the chlorides, what we saw in this structure. In the first year, 2 years, 10 years, the chlorides penetrate 2-3 centimeters. Now, the concrete has such a good quality that the penetration is almost doesn't continue. So it was quite significant in the first years. So the places where we have 2 centimeters cover or 3 centimeters, corrosion has started. So those were the problems. So how to solve this? I think in the construction, the surveillance has to be more severe, and it is not enough to say that we use the spacers to control the cover. It has to be checked and to measure the cover during construction, so that the contractor can realize that, okay, he thought that he was doing well, but the things are not working. So he has to make more attention. And I think that is not common. If I refer in many constructions to say, okay, you are not only supposed to check the concrete quality, but also the cover. And people say, but why cover? I use the spacers that are required. It is not enough. And it's not only here. In many other structures, we have a good structure, good quality of materials, then problems in execution. And problems that the contractor didn't realize when this happened. I think this was the only thing that should be needs to be correct, and in the future in Portugal or elsewhere, because I in other countries I also realized this that this is a problem not only of Portugal, it is a problem everywhere. The concrete cover many times is not achieved during construction. And that costs millions of euros.
Thank you very much. I have checked, there are no more questions, neither from the web app, from the attendees of the FID Symposium, nor from the people seeing through the YouTube. So I'd like to thank you again, Júlio Afton, for this very interesting presentation. Also, thank you, Luís, for sharing this first session with me, and thank you all attendees. I wish you all a very fruitful FID Symposium, and I invite you to be present tomorrow at the opening ceremony. There will be very interesting moments, and immediately afterwards we will have another very interesting keynote lecture by Robert Seen about the 1 kilometer to Algera Tower. So I think you should all be present, and I will welcome you to. So good afternoon. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.